In past project, the soil or some part of the building was not well compacted. Then after some time, when that part settles, the blocks or the concrete are not they are not that flexible. Once it settles, you see movement, so you see cracks. And if it's for that settle, it will not continue for a long time. Once it settles, the crack stops. But there are other kind of crack that is very dangerous. Crack that is as a result of structural failure. That type of cracks grows. It starts little, but over time, it becomes bigger and bigger. You can even see through from that to the next room if possible. If you want to watch out for these cracks, if you are not too sure of the kind of cracks you see in the building you're expecting, it's better you call a professional to check the crack and know which type of crack it is and if it will have effect on the building. In that way, you avoid buying a defected building.
As a newbie in the construction industry, what are some of the standards one must adhere to when constructing a building?
When constructing a building, use professionals. Professionals follow the right process. Get a soil test done. The soil test will now tell the structural engineer the type of drawing that he will approve for that project. Then the civil engineer himself will follow the structural drawing. For instance, the structural engineer may specify that in this particular building, you have to do rafts. The size of the raft, the height will be mentioned. Then the reinforcement in the raft, how many there are going to be in that raft, that beam, will also be specified. The size of the columns will be specified depending on the number of floors you are going. Then the beams, each of the beams, their sizes, their thickness, and the reinforcement size will also be specified in the structural drawing. If you use professionals and they stick to the process, you have a good building without any distraction. Then secondly too, you also make sure that the materials you are buying are also not substandard materials. Because sometimes, because of cost, they will buy low quality materials. Let me give an instance, like rod. Some person will tell you that tiger rods are too expensive, but they are good. They will go for a cheaper one. Maybe those other ones that those Aboki must have picked, they now remelt them and they now sell them to the public. When you are using that kind of reinforcement, you have problem. Because even when the workers are using them, they want to bend those rods. As they try to bend, they break. But the real rod will not break, it will bend. If you follow the right one, those problems will be avoided. Avoid cutting corners and use professionals.
With the frequent collapse of buildings in Nigeria, what advice can you offer for this to be avoided?
To avoid building collapses, there are two major areas we have to address. The government have been singing it, and people in our profession have also been singing it. First, follow the design of that building. The structural drawing, follow it when you are constructing. Then second, avoid using substandard or fake materials. Now, when we talk about follow the design, before a building is erected, test is done. Then a structural engineer would have a structural drawing as to that carries the load of that house, the type of columns, beams that will be used. Now, most people will not follow that drawing. They now follow shortcut, they do something less. At the end of the day, a building that has like designed for just 2 floors will not be carrying 4 or 5 floors. Then the second one is when substandard materials are being used, that deliberately or because of or by mistake, whichever one. When we use substandard material, we have ridiculous. The proper ministry should not be followed. The proper dimension will also be followed. When these two areas are addressed, you see that the building collapse issue will reduce drastically.
What are the possible signs to look out for when inspecting a property in order to avoid buying a defect property?
This is another good question. When you are asked to buy an already built property, there are several signs to look for, but let's talk about 3. The first sign you look for when you approach the building, check if the building is slanting, if one part is sinking or not. But most time when people want to buy a building, they just wash maybe the doors, the windows, and they go in. Stand in front of the building and check if the building is sinking one side. That is a very good sign to check and know that that building has problem. Then the second is check the level of the DPC and the existing road. Dam-proof course, that's DPC. The level of the dam-proof course, what we call DPC, and the existing road. If the level of your DPC is lower compared to existing road, it's a sign of danger. Then the third one to look for again is major cracks. Major cracks. These three are some of the things we look for when you are expecting an existing building you want to purchase. This is all we have for you, friends, today on Ask the Pro. I believe you find this program resourceful. Why not